I am here in Salt Lake City, specifically at the Red Butte Arboretum, where Antiques Roadshow has set up for the day to look at potential treasures from all of the locals. Can't believe I'm here. I've been watching the Antiques Roadshow since I was this big, way before there was an American version. I was watching the British version, and I brought two things with me to have appraised. It's very exciting. So I've come in through the front gates, and the very first step is everyone takes their goods to Triage, which is where people who work for Roadshow will be looking at the actual items and categorizing them. So the person with their item will know which section to take their item to. Like paintings will go to fine art, ceramics will go to a specific ceramic department. So that's what we're all doing now. My plates are in here. We're gonna find out where I will be sent with my antique plates. It's exciting. I'm excited because regardless of whether you make it onto the show or not, every single person here will get an appraisal of their item, which is fantastic. So regardless of what happens with these plates, I'll have some new information about them.
Absolutely. Let's take a look and see what you have. Wow. Okay.
This one's from the Gap.
I didn't know they did tableware.
They do. They've been doing tableware for 300 years, apparently.
Fantastic. All right. So for these items, I'm going to give you one of our guides here.
Yes.
And we're going to go to pottery and porcelain for these two items.
Okay. So these have been categorized as pottery and porcelain. So now they will be taken to that specific appraiser, that specific department.
So what you're going to do next, you can wrap these back up.
Okay.
You're going to show this wonderful color to one of our wonderful volunteers wearing a blue polo shirt. They're going to help guide you to the...
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Seymour. It's really wonderful to see all these people who live locally come out with the things that they've had or they've collected. You just feel like everyone's kind of excited and smiling. There's like an energy with everyone and their precious objects. I can't stop smiling. So I'm here with Nick Dawes, and Nick, you're a pottery specialist?
Yeah. It's one of the things I do here.
Okay, so I've brought two things with me. I have this and this.
Okay. What would you like to know?
I would like to know when they were made, what they were made for. I have I've been making pottery for over 20 years, and my pottery mentor makes mostly flower pots, but his real sort of art is making glazed ceramics, and he's very inspired by Eastern ceramics. So they use their grandmother's plates, which he always called blue Canton. And when I saw these in an antique shop, they were in a vintage shop, there was a pile of them. I was like, these are like guys' grandmother's plates. And these felt old, like they felt, I know they remind me of the blue Willow plates, but they felt like the real thing. And there was a pile of about 15 pieces, and I sifted through to find ones that had no chips or cracks. There were about 4, and I bought those, and I use them for when I get Chinese takeout.
Okay,
Put them on here.
Well, that's perfect for Chinese takeout. They are, in fact, Chinese takeout. These were made in China for export.
Okay.
And blue Canton is what we would call them. They were made in China and exported through the port of Canton, which is why we call them Canton, which was the most active port for export to the United States and beyond in the 19th century in China. Prior to that, Nanking had that role. So it's hard to date them precisely because they made these for a long period of time, and they made, I don't know how many, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of these.
Mm-hmm.
They're a huge, massive amount. all hand painted, made in the traditional way, but made in massive quantities for export. Not just to the United States, but they exported them to Europe as well, different sizes of plate. The quality of these would say to me they were probably made in the late 19th century.
Okay.
It's hard to say exactly, but they certainly have some age to them. And you mentioned the Willow pattern. The Willow pattern is the most familiar pattern on blue and white china because it just was so popular. It was first made in Europe in the late 18th century and used mostly on transfer printed ware made in England. But originally it's a Chinese concept, and here it is used in a very similar way on Chinese porcelain painted. But they're really copying the Willow pattern as it is in Europe in these plates, which is kind of ironic.
There, the Chinese were copying the Willow pattern.
Yeah, in a way, yes, that's what's happening.
I am.
I'm Marsha Bemko.
Hi, Marsha. Nice to meet you.
It's so good to finally meet you. I am
Bemko. Marsha Bemko is the executive producer?
You bet, baby.
Of how long have you been doing this?
About, let's see, 25 years.
25. So I have been watching Roadshow since I was a little kid when it was just the British version. And I loved it. I would watch it every Sunday. And that was kind of one of the seeds that was planted that led me to starting to collect antiques and use them every day in my everyday life.
So you have been watching us for all 30 of our years?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, since... Yeah.
Ever?
Yeah, really. The highlight was when Lee and Leslie Keno revealed that card table that a woman had picked up at a yard sale for 30. Yes, the Seymour table, and that they showed her taking it to auction.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah, I love the Roadshow. I'm so honored to be here.
You know what? I'm so honored you came to be with us.
Thank you.
You so much.
Thank you for having me.
Truly, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're part of the roadshow. Love it.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank
Ooh, look at that. Did you go to jewelry yet?
Yesterday actually we did.
Yeah, they say you don't own things like this or that. You're just borrowing them while you're here.
Absolutely.
They were here before you, and they'll be here after you.
Absolutely.
So as long as you don't drop them during your Chinese meal.
And if that happens, that's why I use them. If that happens, it's a moment of kind of shock. Because, oh baby, I break things.
Now, Rashid.
Yes.
How much did you pay for these two?
I paid, I think $10 for this and like $5 for this, or $20 for this and like $10 for this.
You're totally fine. Like I say, they made a lot of these, so there's still a lot of them around. You saw whole piles of them.
Yep.
Some of them are chipped, so you bought the perfect ones, which is good. But what gives something value, apart from the intrinsic value, supply and demand.
Yes.
So there's a lot of these. The demand is minimal. It's not as big as it could be. But you paid a very good price for these. I would say double that is more than fair in an antique shop today. Yeah.
I have a question about the actual motifs on here.
Yeah.
Would these not have been painted to be sold in China? Is this motif solely for leaving China or would these have been used and sold in China as well?
At the time they made these, there was some domestic consumption for things like this, but mostly what they made in China for use domestically was plainer. This is very typical of Western market.
Okay.
So this would have been European market or more commonly at this time American market.
I have a Chinese friend whose mother collected antique Chinese dishware, and when I have visited her and she's pulled out her things, the plates have looked plainer with simple motifs that are not this motif. So I've always wondered. It's nice to have that.
Now this is they're competing with transfer printed blue and white Staffordshire at this point.
Okay.
Which was more durable. You said earlier, are you doing pottery? This is not pottery, it's porcelain.
Yes.
And ceramics typically fall into one family or the other. This is porcelain. Chinese are very good at porcelain. They invented it. They know what they're doing with porcelain.
Can I ask at the time, if this was made sort of mid to late 19th century and was taken to England, what this would have cost? Like the equivalent
very
to
little,
like a loaf of
very
bread?
little. Probably less. Or the same, yes. Very little. They made massive quantities of it. And we know this partly because there are some shipwrecks with huge cargoes of blue and white Chinese porcelain. Some of them earlier than this, most of them earlier than this, some of them from the 18th century. But they used massive amounts of it to fill the ships.
So this wasn't a fancy dish.
No, far from it.
It was like a everyday sort of use it,
Pretty much.
enjoy it. So this is very appropriate for my Chinese takeout.
Like I said, it is Chinese takeout.
I
It's
love
Chinese
that.
export.
Chinese takeout, Chinese export. Thank you so much, Nick.
Hey, thank you,
Fascinating. I use them. I've always had these question marks.
You're doing exactly the right thing, and we're so happy that a young fella like you is into old stuff.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Enjoy it.
Thank you. I'm here with Chris Holmes, who is the set decorator on the Antiques Roadshow. Chris, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, sure.
How long have you worked for the Roadshow?
This is my 24th season.
20? People seem to come and not leave,
No, it's a great job.
which is
It's an amazing,
wonderful.
yeah.
Well, when I was offered the opportunity to speak to someone from the crew, you were the person that I wanted to speak to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, truly, because whenever I've seen these precious objects laid out for the camera, I've always noticed the very simple but elegant things that are propping them up.
Oh, thank you.
And I guess that is you, right?
Yeah, that's me. Not only just the setting up of, like I said, I actually have 3 other people that work on the different teams, record teams that are working today. But I also, since I've been here for 24 years, almost all of the stuff was either built in my shop or like designed by me or picked by me to purchase. So a lot of
Really?
the things are like all things from, basically like the history of knowing what has come to the roadshow in the past. We keep adapting and adding things. There's some standards, obviously. Jewelry displays and.
You had some display pieces in there. Could we go look at
Oh,
them,
sure.
please?
Yeah. Yeah, actually, I did lay a bunch of the things out because I knew you were coming.
Yes. So for example, were I to have these appraised and an appraiser said, let's lay these out on the table,
Right.
you would be involved in picking the thing.
Exactly.
So what would you put a bangle on?
So if you had just a plain bangle,
Yes.
of course now the thing, I probably would do some sort of like a bracelet stand of
Wow.
some sort.
And this is adjustable, right?
Yeah, that's adjustable. It squishes, so you can put that on.
So may I give that to you?
Yep. And then that would just go. Of course, now I'm going to fumble because I'm not used to doing this on camera.
Oh, so
it does use. It's really tiny.
yeah, I know. These were my mom's, and her wrists were insanely
really?
small.
All right. So the other thing is if I ended up with something that like that, I would have to like shift.
Yes.
And I might go ahead and just grab like one of these, and I would set this up on the table, and then I would just rest it.
Now, what's this covered with? I've always like,
so
this is not velvet.
No,
and it's
it's
not suede, and this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Because when I've noticed this stuff, I've
Yep.
thought, what is that?
It's a theatrical fabric. There's a company in New York City that sells it. It's really meant for like drapery and like for like curtain masking.
Yes.
It's called Encore fabric. It comes. Can I say the company?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it's Rose Brand is the name of the company, and we order that. Like even all my tables are covered with the same
noticed
stuff,
that.
so that all kind of tries to try to match it. So yeah, you see, literally everything is.
So everything is covered, like
Yep.
from this beautiful triangular table with rounded sides, which this is like something that was designed by you, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't buy this from a store.
No, these were built, actually the bases were welded in the shop. They fold
Yes.
flat, so they store easy, and these come off. There's like clips underneath that hold the tabletops on.
And everything is covered with this
Yes,
fabric.
yeah, as best we can. If it's too thin, sometimes we use fabric paint on things.
Okay.
Like those stands, those are actually, I cannot find, those are painted, yeah, because trying to cover that that's a gun stand.
Oh.
So, or a sword stand or cane. We use them for canes.
Yes.
So it's a lot of stuff has like multiple.
Like if I brought in an antique umbrella, like a lady's parasol,
Yeah, that
you might lay it on
right
here.
there. I might also use the tilt top and do like a hook and like run it diagonally. Sometimes it just depends on what the item is and how you wanna.
Yeah.
I also might, like if it's really decorative, you might open it all the way up so you can see the handle and the whole bit. So it
Right.
just depends on the item itself and how it's,
I've always been very curious who decided who decides how to display those things? Because
Yeah.
I've always found that so beautiful.
Yeah, that's funny.
Like, this is probably not how the person is housing their precious object
No.
at home.
No, not
and yet,
generally.
when it comes to roadshow and it's chosen to be on TV, it seems to be elevated as a museum would take a piece and put it in a beautiful
Right.
display case. But what's fascinating about what you do is this moves around.
Yeah,
it's not in a museum.
Yeah, it's not, and also we don't know necessarily what's coming up.
Right.
Early in the morning, they do these things called early birds.
Yep.
Which we'll know in advance a little bit, so we'll have some gear already pulled. But
Yep.
as the day goes on, it's just a surprise. Like sometimes it's like, oh, I've got 5 posters I got to hang,
And you got to do that fast.
Yeah, I mean. We have probably between each record session and like 20 minutes or so, or
Okay.
up to half an hour, depending.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah, it is pretty fast.
Like to
but-
hang 5 posters.
Yeah.
Now, does this stuff come in different colors?
It does, yeah. You can get it in also, like if you go, actually Rose Brand has a website, it's just
Yep.
rosebrand.com. It's, like I said, it's called Encore, and it comes in different weights as well.
Okay.
So you can get it in like red and blue and white and black. Normally black is what they use for, stage curtains. I wouldn't be surprised if that might be velour, but.
Now, and is the blue branded with Roadshow? Is that why it's blue?
Blue has been our color for a long time. We were gray for a while. I don't know if you watch the really old ones.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It was gray
Yeah.
carpet for a long time, and then they
Yes.
decided that the blue just looks. Blue is something about it. It just makes everything look really good.
I agree.
Yeah. There you go. I know.
It's like my favorite
It's
color.
my favorite colors too. Oh my
it-
God, cobalt blue.
Yes.
Totally that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love, like, just look at the detail. So you come over here, let's pretend I was an appraiser and I have the person with me and we're talking about this thing. What's so elegant about this is the appraiser does not actually have to touch the object. Look at this. Look at how beautifully that has been designed. No, truly.
Yeah, they're just like, we try to keep them low profile. The one thing we do try to do is if you have a really tiny item,
Yes.
I might actually prop that up even higher on something,
Yes.
only so that, the appraisers aren't keeping their heads. That's a consideration too, to try to keep things sort of their eye level. Like when we're putting a painting up on the easel, we would make sure it's raised up so they, it's like even with their heads or their eyesight.
Right.
So just to keep, things.
Now, would you put a painting on an easel like this, or would you cover the easel?
No, we put it just on the easel like that.
Okay.
We have the one that size, and I just used this one for a sampler that came through.
Okay.
And we put the smaller ones go on the tabletops.
Okay.
But yeah, we also use these. I have a big board that's
Yes.
almost like a wall, so if I have a clock or something that doesn't, I had a uniform for a NASCAR something that had to be displayed. Didn't fit on a mannequin. It was a full jumpsuit.
Yeah.
So we just did it on the board that's attached to the easel. So like a lot of stuff has like multi functions.
And I guess after 24 years, you really, like, you can hone in on exactly what it needs when you look at it.
I seem to be able to. That's one of those funny things where I'm like, you get stumped to begin with, and like
Yes.
you get something that's weird, and like this rug.
The rug over there?
Yeah, like that. I knew I needed a second pole, but I wasn't sure how I was gonna. Actually, that just failed. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
My stands weren't quite strong enough. Those are like meant for seamless for
Yes.
photography.
Yes.
That carpet probably weighs 70 pounds.
Uh-huh.
So the bases just popped out of those. But so if I had thought about if I'd realized how heavy that is, so this will be a lesson for me.
Yeah.
I will realize I have black versions of what the guys use, these silver C stands.
Yes.
I have black versions of those just so it goes away more. You don't get the glare.
Okay.
A lot of times we avoid shiny things.
Yeah.
Like people are like, why don't you use lucite? It's like, yeah, I'd be fighting
Reflects.
Right. Reflect all the stage
the lights.
lighting. Yeah. Even paintings, I always have to make them almost post-vertical if they
Yes.
have glass in them,
Oh.
because otherwise and then there's the battle of, I can see the camera, I can see the lights. It's like, I don't know, you can pick something.
Yeah.
Because at some point I can't really.
I wanted to speak to you because these are things that people who watch Roadshow might never even think of.
maybe
And
not.
your job is to make it all go away and become about the object.
Exactly.
Solely. Like,
Yeah.
it's not about the display,
No.
it's not about the covering.
No.
It's about the object. But,
Right. But we are very proud of the way we display things.
Well-
And my crew is always like, we're sharing pictures at the end of the day. Where it's like,
should
how'd you
be.
do that?
You should be, because
thank you.
some people notice, and it has always been something that has really impressed me. The word is, it's elegant.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that.
It's like the fact that this is curved.
Oh, yeah.
You thought of that and you did it. One of the things that drives me insane is sitting at a coffee shop, and I sit down with the coffee and put my cup down, and the table wobbles.
Oh, I hate that.
The ubiquitous coffee shop table everywhere.
Yeah, you only needed to do one thing, is hold the coffee cup.
Exactly, and that's what I think.
Yeah.
You had one job.
Yeah.
Design the table.
Right.
And look what you did, and look at how many there are, and look at how many wobble, and the coffee spills.
Well, and the thing is, too, like these have levelers. All of our tables have levelers because we're not on concrete all the time. I was on a muddy hill in St. Louis.
Wow.
Literally on a muddy hill.
Oh.
So I had like huge wedges like underneath the tables to keep them like everything level. So yeah, this is, I keep saying this is like the Taj Mahal of like display, of record areas, because it's so beautiful and and flat.
Well,
the solid surface.
You should be proud of the work that you do. Is really,
thank you. Yeah, we
really
call this the
wonderful.
guitar pick.
The guitar. Oh, yeah, it's the shape of a guitar pick.
Yeah, it's just a good one because it's when people are standing, it forces them to do the 3/4.
Oh.
So if you did like a flat sides, you'd only see people in profile, and so this way forces people out a little bit, so they're not like constantly. Like you only see this, the half of them.
Never would have thought of that.
Yeah, so it's just
brilliant.
one of those things.
That's
but
brilliant.
but then it all has to fit on a 58-foot truck too. So everything's got to go flat and
back to
store
Boston.
easily. And well, actually, yes, this will go from here. I think to Booth Bay is our next city.
Okay, but it travels all over. All the stuff travels all over.
Yeah,
the
on the
country.
truck, and we have it's very specific. That truck is packed to the gills.
Yep, I can imagine.
Yeah,
Like
because it's all
everything
lighting.
Yeah.
So.
Chris, it was a pleasure to meet you. An
nice
honor,
meeting you too.
really.
Thank you so much.
You were the only person I really wanted to
That's
speak
really
to.
funny.
Because sometimes I imagine I take these bangles off every night, and I think I put them in a little box, but I think they really should be on a.
You should get yourself a little stand.
Should be on a
little stand and set something up for it.
You're an inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing props for the theater for 30, 40 years now. So that's a lot of my background is some of the that stuff as well. So that's where it all started.
Well,
so.
this is theater.
Yeah, it is theater.
It's a theater.
Yeah,
it's the
just
same thing.
same thing.
Different
It's
kind.
entertainment. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
You're
Lovely to
welcome.
meet you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So to me, that guy over there, Keno, is like an antique star, because he's been on Roadshow since I started watching American Antiques Roadshow. He was the one that discovered this table that this lady bought for $30 and then sold at auction for like $300,000. A John Seymour table. Hi, Lee. I'm well. How are you? My name's Rajiv. But it's an honor to meet you.
Well, thank you, Rajiv. Honor to meet you. Are you a collector?
I am a collector. I actually, when I was a kid, started working at a historic site in Toronto, where we would dress up as pioneers, but we would work in these historic buildings from the early 19th century that were all like furnished.
Really?
Yeah, with furniture and china. So I grew up using this stuff. And when I would watch Roadshow, it was an inspiration to start bringing it into my real life. And just you and your brother's enthusiasm was contagious. Real influence on the young me to start to truly. And it's I can't believe you're still here.
I'm still here. I'm still like an old piece of furniture.
Well, that was my day here at the Antiques Roadshow in Salt Lake City. It was a great time, kind of like a dream, meeting Keno. Goodbye.